Imagine this, 218 BC. A storm is brewing, not of rain or snow, but of war. The Roman Republic, a rising superpower, controls the seas. But one man, a general from Carthage, dares to challenge their might. His name is Hannibal Barca, and his plan is so audacious, so insane, that it will echo through history for millennia. He's not going to attack Rome by sea. That's what they'd expect. No, Hannibal decides to do the impossible. He's going to march an entire army, complete with cavalry, and 36 war elephants, over the most formidable natural barrier in Europe, the Alps. Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most legendary military feats of all time, Hannibal's epic crossing of the Alps. This isn't just a story about a battle, it's a tale of human endurance, brilliant strategy, and sheer, stubborn willpower against an unforgiving enemy nature itself. So, why the Alps? Why this crazy, roundabout route? To understand Hannibal, you have to understand his history. His father, Hamilcar Barca, was a great Carthaginian general who fought Rome in the First Punic War. They had to build huge rafts, cover them with earth to trick the elephants into thinking it was solid ground, and ferry them across. By the time they reached the foothills of the Alps in late autumn, the army was already weary. Winter was closing in fast. The locals, various Gallic tribes, were not exactly welcoming. Some were hostile, ambushing his columns from high cliffs. Others were opportunistic, offering to guide them, only to lead them into traps. Hannibal had to be a diplomat, a fighter, and a strategist all at once, navigating the treacherous politics of the mountains just as much as the terrain. And then, the real ascent began. The Alps in late autumn are not a friendly place. The paths were narrow, icy, and slick. One wrong step could send a man or a horse plunging thousands of feet into a ravine. The soldiers, many of whom were from the warm climates of North Africa and Spain, had never experienced such brutal cold. They were dressed in simple tunics, completely unprepared for the biting winds and freezing temperatures. Snow began to fall, covering the paths and hiding deadly crevices. Food was scarce. Forage for the horses and elephants was almost non-existent. Imagine the scene. A long, snaking line of exhausted men and animals, clinging to the side of a mountain. The air is thin, making every breath a struggle. The wind howls, a constant, soul-crushing sound. Soldiers are slipping and falling, their cries lost in the gale. The pack animals, carrying precious supplies, lose their footing and tumble into the abyss. Morale is plummeting. The men look at the endless peaks of white and rock ahead, and then at their charismatic leader. How could he have brought them here? Was this the end? This is where Hannibal's genius for leadership really shines. He didn't just command from the rear. He was there, in the thick of it, sharing the hardships with his men. He would appear at the front to break a path, then at the rear to help stragglers. One famous story tells of a moment when the army reached a high pass and could finally see, far in the distance, the plains of Italy. The men were on the verge of giving up. Hannibal gathered them and pointed towards the horizon. He painted a picture of the rich valleys below, of rest, and of the ultimate victory. He turned their despair into hope with the power of his words. The army was trapped. They couldn't go back, they couldn't go forward. For 3 days, the army was stuck, exposed to the elements, while Hannibal's engineers worked around the clock. They had to cut a new path into the side of the mountain. According to the historian Livy, they used a remarkable technique. They would heat the massive rocks with giant bonfires, and then douse them with sour wine. The sudden change in temperature would crack the rocks, allowing the soldiers to chip away at them with their tools. It was a slow, agonizing process, but it worked. They carved a new road, just wide enough for the baggage animals, the cavalry, and finally, the skeletal, starving elephants to pass. After 15 days in the Alps, what was left of Hannibal's grand army finally stumbled into the plains of northern Italy. The cost was staggering. He had started the ascent with around 59,000 men. By any normal measure, this would be a catastrophic failure. A disaster. But this was Hannibal. For him, it was just the price of admission. The Romans, who had been lazily assembling an army, thinking Hannibal was still in Spain, were caught completely off guard. They never dreamed anyone could bring an army over the Alps, especially in winter. The shock and awe were exactly what Hannibal had planned. And what a shock it was. Despite his weakened state, Hannibal and his veteran army were now a blade pointed at the heart of Italy. And in the coming months, he would prove that the ordeal in the Alps had forged his army into one of the most effective fighting forces the world had ever seen. He would go on to win a series of stunning victories against the Romans at Trebbio, Lake Trasimene, and the legendary Battle of Cannae, where he annihilated a much larger Roman force. Hannibal's Alpine crossing remains a masterclass in audacity and leadership. He didn't just overcome a physical barrier, he overcame a psychological one. He showed that the seemingly impossible could be achieved through brilliant planning, adaptability, and an unbreakable will. He knew the risks, calculated the cost, and decided the prize, the chance to defeat Rome on its own soil, was worth it. The story isn't just about elephants in the snow, it's about the very limits of human ambition and endurance. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the most unconventional path is the one that leads to the greatest glory. What do you think? Was Hannibal a genius or a madman for attempting this feat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic stories from history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.